The upright meanings of the Justice card in Tarot. The Justice card carries a range of meanings centred around truth, equality, balance and legal matters. It often shows up as a reminder about ethical behaviour and fairness in all aspects of life. It will highlight the need for accountability, balance and clear and honest action taking and decision making. It can often show up in a reading where there is a need for a big decision to be made. So where the client, the person being read for, may be struggling to make a decision on something where this is a big decision. This is something that they can't put off. It's something that they need to actually act on and make a decision about. But they may have been putting it off because they could be struggling to make the decision. So the Justice card will show up to emphasise the fact that they need to make this decision, that it is important, but also that clarity will be coming to them and that they will be able to make this decision and make it correctly soon. Often when we need to make such big decisions, we can become emotionally attached to the outcomes of the decision, and that can sometimes make it more difficult to make the correct decision or the decision that is actually right for us in that moment. And so the Justice card also shows that need for clarity in removing the emotion away from how the decision is made in order to get to the decision that is best for everybody involved. It can also show up where there is a need for truth, or where there is a situation that has kind of lacked some kind of clarity, and the person who the reading is for may not know the full story of something that might be going on, but it shows up to say that the truth is going to come to light very soon. So in a situation where maybe the client could have been a bit deceived or just not have all of the information about a scenario or situation that's been happening, the Justice card will show up to say that actually the truth will be coming out soon for everything to make sense, and for the client to be fully aware of the situation and what is actually going on and how it is. It can also very often show up in regards to legal matters. So where there's a court case involved, it can show up in that sense. In the upright position, it would often mean that the outcome of the court case would be fair and just, and that it would be the right outcome, depending on what the outcome the client wants isn't really what's important here. It's more to do with, well, actually what is the correct outcome. So if you are guilty of something, then it wouldn't necessarily go in your favour just because the Justice card shows up. The Justice card is impartial, so the Justice card shows up to say, well, the guilty would be shown in the court case, and it would be a fair decision. So also it can show up in other kind of court cases. So it can show up with family matters, family law, divorce. It can also show up where there's solicitors involved, so where contracts are being drawn up, so like with mortgages, trust funds, those kind of things, where it's not necessarily a court case, but it's still a legal matter. You'd have a legal contract. So So earlier we said about how it can show up when decisions are being made by the client, but it can also be shown, it can also show up to talk about decisions that have been made not necessarily by the client but by others that would affect the client. So maybe in applying for different things, what the decision will you be accepted, will you not be accepted? So if you're applying for like a loan or something like that, it can sometimes show up in those situations too, or in judgments, and it's always going to be the fair outcome, so it will be the right decision will be made. So it's not necessarily where you may apply for something and you are entitled to that, and you know you are, but you were unlucky and so you didn't get what you were entitled to. If the Justice card shows up, then if it's your entitlement, you would receive what you applied for, if that makes sense. It can also show up indicating like karma, so previous actions or behaviours, now becoming accountable for those or responsible for those actions and behaviours that might have happened in the past, whether that be good or bad, because it could be either. So it can show up to say that you know, you may be rewarded now for things that you did before, or it may be the opposite, that now you are receiving the not so good because of actions you took beforehand. Another way in which it can show up is mediation. So if there is a need for mediation, so if there's two people that cannot come to an agreement on something and they're getting nowhere, it can speak about the need for another person to be involved who is impartial, who will sit between the two and mediate in order to be able to get to a, not necessarily a full agreement, but actually get somewhere with what they're trying to kind of, where they're trying to go. So some kind of fair agreement through mediation. So that often shows up when there's a need for that in things like cases with children where the parents are separated, and there's that need for a mediator to talk about, you know, the custody of the children, access and things like that. So those are the basic meanings of the Justice card in the upright position, and tomorrow we will be looking at card number 12, which is the Hanged Man.